Imagine it's all dark and stormy. You're wandering around looking for somewhere to get you dry, and you can be safe from the horrors that are out there during the spooky season of October, best known for Halloween. Well, what is one of these places you wander into? You walk into these bright lights of the Last Video Store. Wow. We have horror movies here as well. So this is it, the horror Halloween special of the Last Video Store. With me, Alexei, we're going to be talking about some fantastic horror film recommendations with one of my dearest mates, Demi Lardner. Fantastic comedian, one of the funniest people in Australia, a real weirdo and a true horror nerd. Nobody knows horror the way Demi does because she explores in all like the hidden crevices in what I would say is my favorite genre that I've never heard of. She finds stuff that I've got no freaking idea about. So we're going to get into some weird, whack horror stuff. We're talking to Demi about some of her favorite horror films, and then it's going to be upon me to give her a bespoke, customized recommendation based on her taste for this episode. And because she's seen almost everything, it's going to be freaking hard. So I'm testing my mettle here on the show today. And if you want me to give you a bespoke, customized recommendation, all you need to do is go on to your podcatcher of choice and give us a 5-star review. And in your review, or DM us on Instagram at Last Video Store, but Twitter, anything like that, on a comment on the YouTube, and I'll give you a recommendation based on your new release film, 2 weeklies. I'm going to give you that recommendation. Emmeline, our dearest producer, come out from that horrible rain. Dry yourself off.
The best place to get dry, as you said.
He's amongst the discs and all the VHS tapes here. But you've got a review from one of our dearest customers.
I do. This is from Charlie Fat.
Charlie, fat or thin, I love you either way, brother.
Their review is, as a former graveyard shift worker at Video Sleazy Castle Hill.
Whoa, Castle Hill.
From my way.
Cinema, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to that Video Easy?
I don't think so. I was Beecrofts. That was,
of course.
but I don't know, maybe wandering the aisles after a sleepover or something like
I
that.
think so.
Maybe I could have run into Charlie
You
Fat.
and Charlie.
He says that the Last Video Store podcast is an absolute treat. The Video Store framework is a fab way to start a conversation about great movies, both new, overnighters, and old weekly 7 for $7. Shout out to the sadly missed 3 nights category.
Yes, the 3-day section of the 3-day
Yes.
highs. That was my favorite part of the store, actually.
I find it was so tricky. You're like, it's a Wednesday now, so I'm coming back on. Fuck, Saturday.
Saturday, I guess. Yeah, it's a real time muck up, those 3-day highs.
I was not a smart child also.
No.
Alexei
You're one of the great geniuses. You're a baby genius.
Baby genius. Alexei Toliopoulos does an incredible job of bringing back the magic and charm of the VHS DVD era. His passion for film and the video store experience is infectious, and he brings out the best in all his guests. My new release, Robot Dreams.
Oh, cool. New release, like silent animation film. Beautiful colors, great.
My weeklies, Army of Darkness.
Oh, of course, the third in the Evil Dead franchise.
And Frog Dreaming.
Frog Dreaming. Wow. Brian Trenchard Smith. Love Brian Trenchard Smith. BMX Bandits has been featured on the show already, as has Dead End Drive-In. I'm going to give another Brian Trenchard Smith. I'm sure that Charlie has seen this, but this is more for the people out there in the world. Turkey Shoot is such a winner. It's such a whack, weird, dystopian film that is it's kind of Hunger Games, but made for no money back in the Ozploitation era of Australia. Lots of great actors in it as well, doing like really whack stuff. It's a lot of fun. Turkey Shoot, it's truly like Hunger Games made for no money.
And
It's
I'm going to
a lot of fun.
recommend Chicken Run as a follow-up to
Of
Turkey
course.
Shoot.
Exactly. Chicken Run. We're going to watch the whole poultry. We got the poultry section of the store that is being really, really underutilized.
Neglected. There's only those 2 DVDs, I think.
Exactly. Well, I think we got Chicken Park as well, the parody of Jurassic Park with chickens.
Oh, and Chicken Run 2, Dawn of the Nugget.
Of course, and Chicken Little. This is actually
my
quite a
God.
big section we've got.
Yeah,
you know, it's like we've got to go explore this area.
Yeah, we need a special episode, I reckon.
We need a special episode. We got to get the CEO of Ingham's Chicken on the podcast to talk about all our favorite chicken features. But let's get into it. We're talking with Demi Lardner about really fucked up freaky movies, dude. A horror section, the horror special, dude.
The Last Video Store.
record show, Demi Lardner just showed me a photo of her bruised ass. But I just saw a photo of Demi's bruised ass.
It was a good bruise. It was one of those ones that you can be proud of.
Absolutely. It's unique bruising. It was beautiful. It looked like tie-dye.
Yeah.
It looked like a tie-dye print.
It looked like the galaxy that a meteor was like flying towards. I broke the skin on the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh my
I broke
God.
my skin on the Hobbit
Yes,
trilogy.
Demi did tell me she did fall down a DVD box set of the Hobbit trilogy. DVD or Blu-ray?
Blu-ray.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
DVD would crumble underneath you, but a Blu-ray's sturdy.
Blu-ray? Even my donk can't get can't doing those.
Well, thank you for bringing that donk into the last video store today,
You're
Demi.
welcome.
And making the trek out to this humble desert town and wandering the shelves with me. I would love to find out this personal question I'm going to ask you. Have you ever been to a video store before? Have you ever had any memories associated with the realm known as a video store?
I used to go to the video. So my dad bought me blackout blinds for my bedroom
Wow, of
because
course.
I was so obsessed with horror movies.
Yes, and he was like, we need to freak this little chick out as
We need-
much as possible.
maybe she'll have like a 5-year-old heart attack.
Wow.
And then we'll have a
it.
free room.
Very exciting.
So like he bought me these blackout blinds that would go like you know, the ones that kind of
Wow.
like they come
it sounds
down
like
to the
he
bottom.
imprisoned you, actually.
And the flap that he would push my pancakes through under the door was actually like pretty classy. I
Okay,
would say.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But so he bought me those because I loved horror movies so much, and they got to a point where we would go to. It was first a Video Easy, then it was a Blockbuster.
The circle of life.
Yeah. And I got through every single horror movie in the weeklies section of the Blockbuster.
That's disgusting. How can you manage that?
I kept like, so I would have them. I mean, they were weeklies, but I would go and get like 5,
Yep.
and then.
As is tradition, of course.
That's correct.
Yes.
But then the next day, I'd be like, "Well, I watched them all. Can we take them back? And can I get some more?"
Oh my God.
So I got through every single horror movie, and I had to wait for more horror movies
How
to come
old
out.
are you, by the way?
I would have been. This would have been when I was like between 10 and 13.
Okay, yes.
So it was
Prime
like in-
age, so
yeah.
you're of age to be watching effed up S.
Yeah, Ginger Snaps and the
Oh,
like.
wow. That would have Ginger Snaps would have informed you about what the next few years might be like for you. Turning into a young hormonal werewolf, if you will.
And a werewolf, if you will, a wolf of the were. So I like got through all of those movies. Then we had to wait for new ones to come out. And then we had to go to different video shops.
You're
I
starting
couldn't-
Kickstarters going, come on, guys, finish this horror film off,
Guys,
please.
get it done.
Investing in the Hollywood.
Otherwise, I'm gonna have to put some kind of weird blue tone on a comedy and like
Yeah.
just pretend that they're hurting each
We
other.
got to slow down the comedy by 25% so it stops being funny and starts being really disturbing.
It got to the point where I was getting mad because like I was watching things like Mrs. Lee's Meat Pies and being like, these guys were trying to be funny. It doesn't count. And just getting like really mad, and my dad would be like, "What have I done?" But there was I was such a regular at our local video shop that there was a point where they had a coloring in competition, and I put so many entries in. they were like, "Will you please stop?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, you said that there wasn't like a limit to how many I could put in, so I won my dad a long sleeve Dragon Heart T-shirt."
Wow. That's exciting. That's
Yeah.
if there were ever a movie that Dad would want a long sleeve tee for, surely it would be the Dennis Quaid starring Sean Connery voicing a dragon
That's
movie.
right.
That's a wonderful picture.
And he wore it for a while, but then he was like, and then he got too fat, and he was like, "I love this shirt, but just can't wear it anymore. My belly button, my whole belly
I
button
thought that was
sticking
going to
out."
be an inspirational story where the dragon heart took possession of him. He goes, I must fit back in. Or like, you know when they go The Biggest Loser, like part of the thing, they go, you got to put your dream outfit that you want
Yeah.
to get back down on. If it's just your dad's, because like everyone's got like their wedding dresses. And it's like, yeah, I got this dragon heart shirt.
It's completely grayed because of how old it is.
Grayed and frayed the way that it would be intended to be. Of
Great.
course, it's a relic of the medieval era.
Grayed and frayed. You're like a Beyblade.
Have
Go
you-
so far.
Have
Dennis
you ever?
Quaid.
Well, Dennis Quaid. There we go. We got back to it. He's in it. It's a Dennis Quaid.
Guys, you can just say words that rhyme if you want.
Dragonheart was one of those movies for me, like growing up in a video store, where I was just like, "Oh, this is so real." And I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
seeing the dragon go, It's never going to get more real than this. This is a real dragon that I believe in now. And he talks so beautifully. And then you look at it now and you go, this is horrifying.
It looks basically like Lara Croft's pyramid titties, you know?
I know, and those were also essential for me that era.
They were
I was
cool,
going,
but them
Han,
actually...
it's never going to get better than this. These beautiful... I was going to say beautiful orbs, but no, they have those beautiful angles, you
How
know?
did they get the points on the realistic breasts so perfect?
Oh, well, you know, there's a lot of guys out there that's their speciality in
Yeah.
the video game world. They go, God, I got to make this character turn these guys on. Like, I know exactly how to turn on these teenage boys, and it's by doing conical-shaped breasts. After all, Madonna is the greatest star in the world right
That's
now.
right.
It's a true sex symbol.
She wore damn party hats on her titties.
Exactly. This is all our dreams, all our dreams.
That would have been really uncomfortable. I'm just thinking about the fact that your tits are like pointing straight out and they're kind of like plamped on like a shelf. That
Yes.
they're like in the conical...
The famous tit shelf.
The famous
The
tit
famous
shelf
tit
that we all
shelf.
know
Of
about.
course, it's one of the most erotic zones on a woman. The famous tit shelf.
It's that and the ears. That's all,
Those
that's all
are
we
two
know.
most erogenous zones.
Oh God, I'd hate for a gigantic woman with huge ears and huge feet to step on me till I couldn't breathe.
Well, and
I'd hate it.
I know you're being sincere right now. To me, it's my greatest dream for that to happen, to be stepped upon by a ginormous woman.
Oh man.
Well, Demi, thank you for sharing me your story about your father's dragon art t-shirt. It is going into the canon of great video store stories that we have here in the last video store. But you are here for a purpose right now.
That's right.
This is the spooky season. It is official. We are celebrating fear. We are celebrating horror.
Yep.
We are celebrating the sinister cinema. We are celebrating things that go bump in the night.
Ooh.
We are celebrating the howls and cackles of wolves, witches, and of course the dreaded Romanian accent of Dracula.
Bleh.
Oh, perfect. So you and I, we formed our deeper bond, our friendship through our shared love of horror films.
Yep.
And I really want to get you into the video store to talk about horror because I think you and I have a deep love for horror.
Yes.
But extremely different approaches.
Absolutely.
You see shit that has never been on my radar. Like the stuff that you see, they go, what the fuck is this film you're talking about? And I would say I have a near encyclopedic knowledge of film.
Yeah.
You will find stuff that I've not heard about. You go, oh yeah, it was a streaming movie that came out the day streaming began and it doesn't
God.
exist. I go, you find such deep little things.
Yeah.
So I'm anticipating there'll be things that you're going to bring out that are not even in my realm.
Yes.
That you're going to take me to a new dark section of this store.
My recommended for you on every streaming app is absolutely horrific. Like, it's a wasteland. It is disgusting. And I've seen a lot of stuff that I got to the end of it and I was like, I enjoyed that. I think it was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. It sucked so bad. I did enjoy it though. Like,
You are very good at enjoying anything.
I love it.
Yeah.
When I'm in there and I'm doing it, I'm like, yes, I am currently having a good time. This is so bad. I think I'm just like, I can't, okay, by the end of this, I can't have wasted that time. So I must be enjoying myself.
Well, you're getting into horror like such a young age, like 10, 13. Like that's primo for when you want to feel an edge to things. You want to kind of feel a little bit of a sense of taboo that you're
Yep.
pushing through things. Like what was it that drew you to the sinister realm of horror cinema?
So like,
Things that are scary.
one of the main things was actually, and it's not a horror movie, but one of the main things was my dad showing me the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Because it's not horror, but it had horror in the name, and I was like, I guess I like shit like this.
Yeah, and I do like picture shows, which is the moving image.
It's many pictures over and over again until it appears that there is an illusion that
Yes.
things are moving around in front of you. It's like a whole new world. Is that train coming towards me? I don't know.
That is the first horror film, by the way. Train Pulls at the Station. And, early Paranormal Activity has really rivaled it for how scary it can be to see something on screen.
Just the first Final Destination was
dude.
just that it was, hey, this is first destination. It's a train. Isn't that fucked
Primary
up?
destination.
So I remember watching Rocky Horror Picture Show and being like, oh, stuff that's spooky is really cool. What if I like got actually scared? I remember my dad also showing me Rocky Horror and being like, hey, check out this movie. And then it got to the point where like Frankenfurter's trying to fuck everybody in it. Can I say fuck?
You can say fuck, you can say frick, you can say pussy.
Okay,
you can
pussy
say
fuck frick. Can
frick.
I say like the craziest, reddest cunt you've ever seen?
We might have to bleep red. It's the descriptor that changes it.
Yeah, it does
we
make
might
it
have
bad.
to bleep red.
And but then it got to the point where he's like rooting everybody, and I like looked over at my dad and was like, "Why'd you put this on?" And he was like, "I don't know." Like, and I was like, "Yeah, they're like having sex," and he was like, kind of forgot about that. And it's like the horniest movie of all time.
What is it about? Dad, what's going on?
All of it's about fucking. And he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was about a spooky guy.
God, sorry, I didn't expect you to have a mind life-altering experience watching this.
So then, like, I wanted to watch heaps of spooky stuff. I went through every single VHS at the Blockbuster / Video Easy. I watched all of they had compilations of the scariest scenes of horror movies, 4 movies that weren't even at the Blockbuster.
Oh my
so I was
gosh.
just like, okay, so I got to see like scenes from Puppet Master, and I never got to see Puppet Master until I was like 20. So I just got the most gory scenes. And yeah, it was basically just Dad being like, I don't know, it's nice to have an interest, and then getting me the blackout blinds.
You know what I would love to compile with you? I would love to do the opposite of that. Compile all the great boring bits of horror movies. Like little awkward moments, things that are strange. There's one moment that that's lasted with me forever. It's in Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Not Leprechaun in the Hood. The second in Leprechaun movie.
I don't think I've seen Back to the Hood.
Back to the Hood, there's a moment in it where like they're living the vibrant life of all their wishes coming true. From the leprechaun, they're living in the riches and all that stuff. So they there's a montage you're seeing them enjoying the spoils of the leprechaun. And there, it's got some cool music over it and stuff. And then there's a prelude to a lovemaking scene where they're just in the montage and it's this beautiful couple in the film and they're making out, and you can just tell that they accidentally go into autopilot mode when they're in that, and the woman in this couple just honks the guy's dog.
Oh my
Honks his
God.
dog.
What the hell?
She just honked it. And I go, wow, okay, I've never seen that in a film before.
Oh,
like where you just go,
wow.
someone just fully went on autopilot and they were making out in the movie. Then they honked his dong and you go, wow. And then her hand immediately goes, oh, let me just move that away. It was a very whoops. I go, wow, that's one of the great goofs that you don't see written about on IMDb
Man,
trivia.
that's sick. That's so good.
I'll send you a footage of that.
Yeah, please.
That donk getting honked,
There's
dude.
a movie called, I think it was, it's a horror movie. I think it was called Clown, because I got very heavily into horror movies that were either called Escape Room or set in an escape room.
Oh, yes.
There
Escape Room, the movie called Escape Room is quite good.
Depends on which one you're talking about, because there's 4 that I've seen.
Okay,
And they're all just called Escape Room.
I think probably the highest budget one is the one I would have seen.
Okay.
The Blumhouse one.
I know the one.
Yes.
Yes.
That was quite good.
I enjoyed it.
It
and
was
I
like
really liked
Cube
it. They just
for a
get-
new generation of teenagers.
Cube.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know what? I just realized there was something I wanted to put on my list that I didn't put on my list.
Wow.
Can I quickly
You can say an
just say it?
honourable mention, yes. Mention the honourable.
You seen Platform?
I've not seen Platform.
Okay, don't worry about it.
There's Platform 2, I heard.
I'm so excited for it to come out.
Okay, interesting.
I'm really, really excited to see it. I really love Platform. But I was gonna say that there are a couple of different movies that are like, one of them, I think it was called Clown. I'm pretty sure it was, and it was like, oh, we're going to this, we're going to like a fun house in the desert. And they get there, and it's up until that it's like not a silly movie. It's meant to be kind of like trashy horror. And there's a point where this girl's like, "Come on, we should go inside. Don't be scared." And then they're talking, and then in the background, sorry, let me just do this. So like in the background, they're talking and having a serious conversation, and this girl does this.
What?
And I was like, what the fuck just happened?
That's just
like,
we know someone's fallen asleep while watching this, but we need to wake you back up.
what's going? I need to find that clip and send it to you, because it is like one of the crazy. It's not a funny movie, and it's not meant to be a joke.
Well, we've got 2 clips for this compilation. Send them in to Last
Yeah.
Video Store Batuta and we'll put them together.
Yeah.
Demi, I'm going to send you out now into the store. You're going to explore the horror section. And yes, we've installed a new shelf. There's a new shelf in the horror section. It's the lowest rung. You actually have to lie down on the ground. You have to go prone to
Okay,
reach
I'm
this
gonna be
final
completely
shelf.
prawn.
You're gonna go prawn state,
Yep.
prawn down
I'm gonna
there.
curl up,
And
yes.
there's darkness.
Oh,
And so
no.
you're gonna have to pull out many, many cobwebs.
Okay.
You're gonna have to spread these cobwebs apart and unearth some things that are sure to send a shiver down the spine of even the bravest soul.
I'm gonna put my thunder jacket on so I don't get too spooked out, Alexei.
Okay.
Okay. Here
And
I go.
And I'm waiting here with my little blankie and nightlight just because I don't want to get freaked out by all the freaky things that you bring back.
New release.
Wow, Demi is back from the darkness.
That was actually much more scary than I thought it was gonna be.
Oh no, classic pussy. What a wimp, dude. Oh my god, I was joking when I said it a blankie.
I got it.
I was joking about that. I'm
got it.
brave.
I was recently on a podcast where I showed off my skills at being able to do a really, really good like horror movie scream.
I saw the clip.
Yep. And
Philosophy, the latest
yeah.
episode.
I did actually end up getting a letter from the
From
building
the-
manager.
Oh my god. Yeah. Please don't scream here.
The reason is because they saw the clip and they were like, "So that was you?" And I was like, "Yup, sorry."
What?
They were like, "Okay, I didn't realize you're a comedian. I like that podcast. I saw it. I did hear you do that scream."
Wow, I heard it live.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was in a live audience of Philosophy.
Yeah, rough. Anyway,
Wow. Well, you brought us some three treasures.
Uh-huh.
Some three treasures. We've got a new release film. We've got 2 weeklies. Let us begin with your new release horror film. This is a film from 2021 from director and writer Simon Barrett, who folks may know as a collaborator with Adam Wingard.
I didn't know that.
The Guest. He wrote it. He wrote The Guest. He wrote Your Next. And now he's directed Seance from
Oh my
2021.
god! I can't believe I didn't know that.
Horror.
Yeah, tell me about Seance.
Seance is amazing. It's I think I went into it not knowing anything about it, and then I found out that my friends knew Simon Barrett. And like had him on their podcast, and I was like starstruck by association.
Wow.
It's kind of a how to describe it? It's like a classic here are the catty mean girls, they're bullying us, little do they know type of thing.
Ooh, so it's set in like a all girls boarding school.
That's right.
And I think that's like I love teen horror, and I think that is such a great setting for those kind of films. Like it makes me think of Suspiria. It makes me think of
There
what
are
was
references
Cry
to
Wolf?
Suspiria in all throughout Seance. If I don't know whether you've seen it yet because I think you're going to watch it, right?
I started watching
Yeah.
it. I'm about 40 minutes into it,
There-
and I was like, I need to give this my full attention.
I love it so much. There are a couple of reviews that I've seen of it that are like, and I think it's because they're written by like gay publications, and there were some trailers and stuff for the movie where they're like, ooh, this is going to be like a gay couple in the movie, and it does kind of get gay, but not heaps. It's like it's mostly about the horror, and they're like, that's queer baiting, and I was like, no, it's not. It's just like some cool lesbians that don't want to finger each other on screen.
Yes, they exist too.
Yeah, and
This is real representation.
that's right. So it's really cool because it is exactly what you're expecting. There is a twist that I thought was like, I didn't see it coming, and it also didn't ruin. You know how sometimes when you know a twist in the movie, you're like, well, there's no rewatchability in this movie. Like, I don't think I could watch The Invitation again and enjoy it the same way. The Invitation?
The
Yes.
Karen Kusama Invitation?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I could watch that again and get the same feeling out of it. But I've watched Seance a couple times because I was like, didn't ruin anything for me, and the performances are sick.
Yeah,
I
okay.
love it.
So this is, I'm going to read a little synopsis as well.
Yes.
At an elite boarding school for girls, 6 friends jokingly engage in a late night ritual, calling forth the spirit of a dead former student who reportedly haunts their halls. Before morning, one of the girls is dead, leaving the others wondering what they may have awakened. But it's got this great performance by Suki Waterhouse. Like that's where what I've seen of this movie so far. I'm talking. Maybe I should just pretend I've seen it.
Just pretend you've seen it.
I've seen this movie, and Suki Waterhouse. This is a great performance, and I think there's something that's very fun in this. It's got this interesting little cast of like young actors. What has worked for me in this film is that it's got kind of that bit of that Scream vibe.
Yes.
Like that teenage investigative horror.
Yeah.
And it truly calls forth like some of my favorite horror films, like Black Christmas, another big inspiration in the slasher field. But it doesn't quite feel like that. Like it's got kind of quite a modern sense of humor and a modern like coldness to the aesthetic that I really love.
I agree.
I'm really love.
Yeah, and
I'm really love.
I'm really love.
I think I'm really am love.
I also really like I know that maybe it's maybe it has a lot to do with the aesthetic and the fact that it's set in a boarding school, obviously. But I was like, oh, these people look their age and they seem like they are their age. Whereas Scream, which I love very, very much,
Yes.
I'm like, you guys are clearly in Hollywood and you're not 30, but you may as well be.
I love that.
Which
It makes
just
me
as
feel. I think they
valid.
should cast more older people as teenagers because it makes me go, well, I guess I technically still look like a teenager. It makes me feel happy about
and
myself.
they should do more older people, and they should make them older as well.
Yes.
I want to see Rip Maggie Smith, but her as like a
Yeah.
14-year-old who just really wants to get fingered at the skate park. Oh my god,
That would be beautiful.
Can you imagine?
Unfortunately, you said it. I've imagined it. I would love to see them do Grease 3, where they're like, hey, we're in college now. It's
Yeah.
still John Travolta. Still just John Travolta hanging around. I was like, yeah, I'm in college. It's awesome.
Grease 3, Tar. I was trying to think of something thicker than Grease. I don't know whether that works.
Well, tar is actually one of the thickest things that is still technically liquids.
Actually, yeah. So I really love Seance, and I think it is. I just think it's like it's a work of art,
A work of art.
which I think
Were
every
you
movie is
moved
in a
by?
way, right?
No, some movies aren't.
Some
art.
movies aren't. One that like
I think 6 movies are art. That's it.
you probably maybe it's,
Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug.
okay. That all right, but actually,
Battle of the
just-
Five Armies, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
I don't think they needed to put him in the green screen. I think it actually took away from the dragon.
Far out. I love Hobbit so much. But Seance is really cool, and just to have seen it and decided that I liked it without people saying this is a really cool movie that you should watch, I was like proud of myself for finding something so cool.
What do you think people will get out of Seance?
I think so. Something that I've said to you a billion times before.
Yes, say it one more time on the record.
Oh, I will. Put your foot in my mouth.
And Debbie likes it when I leave the shoe on.
Yeah. No, it's a movie that didn't think what do horror movies do and then do that. It's a movie that thought what is scary and did that. So it did something scary, and it made it scary, and it's in a unique way that wasn't just monsters in the mirror behind you. It has its own style, and it's not just this is what horror movies do. It's also, I mean, the acting's sick. It's like it's got that classic feel of like, yeah, we're in a boarding school. These children are essentially like abandoned.
Yeah, it's
So-
a great way to set a world up with no adults. And I
Exactly.
think that's like such a key to teen horror is
Yeah.
like you have to create a world or the feeling of a world that does not have the authority of adults in it
Yep.
because that can give you that sense of safety or something like that. I think that it works really well. Scream does it really well.
Yes.
I think It Follows does that really
Oh,
well.
man, yes.
Nightmare on Elm Street does it really well. You cannot trust the adults.
Mm-hmm.
But here it feels like almost abandoned, right? This boarding school.
Yeah, it's like in the same way that it's like scary Enid Blyton, where they're like, oh, I don't know, we like rode over to this island because my dad's a prick or whatever. And this one, it's just like, yep, well, I don't know, it's kids. Some of them just hate each other, and we're not really going to do anything about it because it's annoying, and the kids are just bitches to each other. So whatever.
I think this is the dark version of the holdovers. So if you're going to have a holdovers Christmas where we're going to watch Paul Giamatti spin this beautiful, comforting, sad Christmas melancholia, I think you go, okay, well, now that mum and dad have gone to bed, the kids are going to stay up and they're going to watch Seance. And they're going to watch these mean girls accidentally kill each other or something. They're going to do seances. But yeah, Seance is a good recommendation.
Thank you.
And I think it should be in people's radars.
think it
I
should be.
quite like Simon Barrett. He also has directed he did the wraparound story for the found footage anthology film VHS 2.
Yeah.
So he did the wraparound story for that, which I think is the best wraparound story for all VHSs. He also directed one of the best anthology episodes, like shorts, in VHS 94, which I think is the second most recent VHS. Like, if you don't know VHS, it's like such a good anthology series where each one is like about finding some fucking fucked up, messed up tape. And there's always just like some cursed item on the tape. I think they're like up there with the best horror anthologies. And VHS 94, his segment in that is a video recording of a wake. Or a funeral.
Yeah.
The Empty Wake, it's called. I think it's really good. So Simon Barrett, he's one of the kind of new voices, 21st century voices of horror.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that he's moving more into directing as well as just writing, because all the stuff he's done with Adam Wingard is of excellent quality. So now to see him branch out, become a solo artist, heck, dude, that's what we love to see.
Bro, I love it. Thank you so much for your service, sir.
Oh, thank you. You're a soldier of
thank
cinema,
you,
brother.
thank you.
Thank you.
Take this shoe off.
So that, okay. Oh, God. Oh, God. My barnacles are about to be licked.
Yep. It's colder than you think, isn't it?
Oh, they got that cold tongue. So we're going over from seance. We're now going to wandering down the dark and spooky path of the weekly films.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at your weekly titles.
Weekly.
And we're going to start off with one of the most, in our lifetime, influential horror films that have ever been released, or dare I say, unleashed. Yeah, because it's actually quite freaky, this one. We're talking about the 2004 film from James Wan, a great Aussie guy. Thank you for being Australian. And Lee Winnell, also Australian. Thank you for being Aussie.
Thank you for being Australian.
We're talking about Saw, the torture. Well, it started an entire cycle and wave of horror cinema called torture porn.
Horror.
Yes.
But I think the thing that keeps Saw unique and keeps it like important, and what is the thing that sticks out when I revisit Saw is Saw is like not a torture porn film.
No.
It's like a really small, tightly wound, expertly crafted thriller.
Yes.
But everything that followed in its wake is the most disgusting shit that ever happened.
It's so unbelievably grotesquely perverted after the first, and it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
I've seen every single Saw.
You've seen all the Saws.
I've seen all the sauce, and yum, may I say. There is a lot of sauce.
There's a lot of them. There's like 12 or something now.
I think it's at least 11. I think it might be 12 because there's Spiral
There's
as well. and that
Spiral,
doesn't
of course, a
technically
source, a
count.
story from the Book of Saw, I believe it's
From the book
called.
of Saw.
Allow me to make my confession to you right now. I've only seen Saw 1.
Yep.
I've never seen any of the sequels. I've never seen Spiral, a Saw story, or from the Book of Saw, or whatever it's called. I've never seen any Saw sequel, and it's coming up on my like punch card list because every year or two I go, I'm gonna run the gamut on a horror franchise.
Yeah.
And
Really quickly, saucy qual. What are you about to fuck an Australian animal? Is a qual Australian? I can't
qual
tell.
is Australian.
Are you about to fuck an Australian animal?
Saucy Qual.
Saucy qual.
Now that's beautiful.
I need to kill myself.
No.
No?
At least finish this episode.
Okay.
At least finish this podcast with me. And then.
So you've never seen
free
any?
reign. I've never seen Saw 2, Saw 3D.
Do you have spoilers? Do you know like vaguely?
I know vagaries.
Okay.
I know vagaries about these things. I know that Jigsaw returns. I know Jigsaw comes back from the dead and all those kind of things. I know that it is an intricate tessellating world in Saw, just as strange as Fast and Furious, where things happen in different orders. I know all of that shit.
Yeah.
Not precisely, but I've heard some things. I've heard the murmurs.
Yeah.
But what is it about the first Saw that holds a place in your heart?
It's exactly what you were saying. Is that it's like small. It's a thriller. It's like it. I genuinely, the first time I saw it, had me completely on the edge of my seat. I think I saw it when it first came out, so I would have been 11.
11 years old.
But I was obsessed with it. I was also kind of like, isn't that damn Robin Hood Men in Tights? And it was.
Yep.
Carrie Elwes.
Carrie Elwes.
And one of the main things actually that I really love about Saw is the soundtrack. Like the sound, like the string section, like the boo boo boo. Boo, 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 was like, oh man, that hits so freaking hard. And they keep going with it throughout the franchise. And I think it's the reason, like, I think it improves the movies like at least 10%. Like, even the sequels, like that soundtrack really heightens it, even though they're all just disgusting.
Oh my God. I'm looking up who did the score for this. The score is from, oh my God, Charlie Clouser. Let me tell you what else he's done the scores for. Saw X, Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, Saw 5, Spiral from the Book of Saw,
Oh, I see.
Saw 6.
Saw 6.
This movie, I don't know if it's related, Jigsaw? He did the soundtrack to Jigsaw.
Is that the Netflix special?
No,
Jigsaw was-
Jigsaw's the reboot. Yeah.
Is Jigsaw number 8?
Yeah, I think it's 8.
I think
The
it's
one from
8.
2017, he did Dead Silence, which is James Wan's follow-up film to Saw. Resident Evil Extinction. He also did The Collection, which I think is sitting up somewhere here.
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
looking at the video version of this, it's one of the films that I know is sitting behind my head in the video version of it. Yeah, and The Collection is very similar to Saw as well. Wow, okay. So he's very much in the genre space. But did the score is something that captures your attention? Did
Yeah.
it capture your imagination? Did it heighten your fears?
I think that the way that it so easily changes key and just keep, like, it doesn't matter how stressful everything is that's happening on screen, like it can keep getting more intense and then drop into the boom right after, the classic boom that happens right after all of the raised intensity of the soundtrack, just to be like, and anyway, he freaking is still freaking alive. Isn't that crazy? She's from the show with the doctor who's grumpy.
Yeah, Becca. She's from Becca.
I was hoping you would say.
Her name is as well because Shawnee Smith.
Shawnee Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, Shawnee Smith. I love her in Becca and I love her in Saw.
Me too.
But I always find it so curious. Like, Saw just really captured the attention because this is like the horror films. Like, I wasn't a late adoptee in life to horror. Like, it wasn't until my late teens that I got into horror. And I think it's because, like, the Saw knockoffs and the Saw exploitation, the torture porn was, like, the primary source of horror at that time. Like, we had that J-horror period that then became remakes of Japanese horror films.
Yeah.
And then torture porn completely took over.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something about that where it never felt like it was horror about building tension and the build and release of tension. It always felt like to be horrified by imagery.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that always scared me about that shit.
That's what I didn't like about, like, Hostel Part 2, Hostel Part 3. Like, I was like, man, yeah, that would feel bad. I know.
Yeah, and it looks gross.
And it looks yuck, and I don't like looking at it. So thanks, I guess.
And I would say Saw, it's like such a good use of like building that tension. And I think probably what captures people in, like what probably started that trend is like, of course, like going that what if scenario that horror movies are so good at utilizing. Or like, well, what would happen if I was in this situation? And I think it kind of builds that torture porn thing because of all the intricacies of jigsaws and all that stuff. But I think it is more captures the full aesthetic because, man, it's disgusting. But it's nothing that you're like. It's the room that they're in that's disgusts me.
Yeah.
Like if I was just even in a bathroom that awful, I would go, well, doesn't matter what Jigsaw's got planned. I'm gonna end it anyway,
I
mate.
just need to die.
I'd rather
I
just
can't.
go. Even to live with the memory of being in this bathroom, I cannot live a happy life after that.
Exactly, yeah. I think that I think something that you were making a point about there as well that I really appreciate is that, like, Saw doesn't just have like, oh, this is gross and wouldn't it be really scary? There's a sense of doom as well. Like when it gets to the end of the movie and like John Kramer is like the key to that lock is in that bathtub, and then we see the flashback to the key already being like having gone down the drain.
No.
And the look on the guy's face, and my stomach dropped when I saw that. I was like, there was never a chance for him to get out. What the fuck? And just like having an absolute sense of complete doom. It was like you were never going to get out of here is the thing that really fucked me up about Saw.
And as an 11-year-old, you like
Yeah,
that happening to you? That's weird, dude. You're a sicko.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, I turned to my dad and I was like, I never seen anything like this before.
Dad's like, yeah, it's no Dragonheart.
Yeah, I know. Let's put on Rocky Horror.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good horror. That's a good horror. So that is Saw.
Yep.
Beautiful choice, Demi. Beautiful choice.
Love it. You don't have to watch any of the others, but I would encourage you to because some of them, there's some stuff in there that is just should be illegal.
Wow. Okay, give me the cell because I think I will watch. I will go to Saw. I will go to Sawville.
The one that there are 2 Saw traps that stick out so far in my mind. They're like when I think of anything past Saw 1, what I think of there are these 2 traps. There's one Saw, I think it's Saw 3 or Saw 4. It's hard to tell because there are 2 characters in like Saw 4 and 5 that look genuinely identical, and it's really, really difficult to tell which one's the cop and which one is the actual serial killer.
Well, that is, I would say, what is a difference between a cop and a criminal, man? Oh. That's it. They're 2 sides of the same coin, man. That's what The Departed's all about, man.
ACAB, all police officers, am bad. There are 2 traps that stick out in my mind. One of them is, so there's this guy and he's like going through all of these traps, but he is not the victim of the traps. There are different people from like the legal system and from his life that caused his child's death. And he is basically choosing whether or not to free them from the traps. And sometimes it's through his sacrifice or like pain or whatever. There's one trap where there's a woman, I think she was like, I think it was a woman. She was like the defense lawyer or something for the guy. She got the guy off. And what happens is she's like bolted to the bottom of like this pit, and rotten pig corpses start being conveyed through and chopped in half. So all of their innards and their decomposing
Oh my god!
blood and veins start drowning her in the pit.
Oh my god!
And he has to decide whether or not to free her or watch her drown in pig innards.
Wow, Jesus.
So there's that.
Okay.
There's another one.
I don't know how a brain could come up with
It's
that.
just, it's so, and I felt like I was watching it and I was kind of like getting up with my hands on my hips and going like, ugh, God. There's another one, much simpler. It's just a guy. He's all spread out.
He's
and,
splayed.
Yep. Leg spins around the whole way. Other leg spins around the whole way. This arm spins around the whole way. And then his head is the last one. And it's really, 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 really gross to watch. But while it's all happening, and then he's just like got no limbs and he's just a head. He's like, hey, can you let me out? And the guy's like, yeah, all right. And he tries and he doesn't make it in time. It's just like really disgusting.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a head get twisted up. That's exciting.
Ooh, put it all the way around. What else can that head do? Nothing?
Unfortunately, he's dead. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna make the journey into Saw. I'm gonna do it,
Great.
and I'm gonna promise you. I'm promising you right now. And yes, I'm even gonna watch Spiral from the Book of Saw.
Spiral's not bad. It's not good.
I'm excited for it. I love Chris Rock. You have got one more film in your weekly bundle. This is a film I've not seen. Film I didn't even know we had in the store.
Yep.
Film I didn't even know existed.
Yep.
So a 1986 film called Blood Hook.
Horror.
I'm reading the back of the box. This is why it's got written on the back. This is official synopsis for this film. Tagline: Fishing was never like this. Great. I'm already go, wow, it's a horror movie about fishing. During a local fishing contest, people are being mysteriously dragged into the lake and killed by a giant fish hook. After a sufficient number of deaths, the killer is finally revealed. I think that's one of the best synopses I've ever read because it's like, yes, we know there's mechanisms to these things. This is a synopsis about the mechanism. You're just going to go, yeah, okay. By the way, once you've had your bloodlust satiated, we shall reveal all to you.
Yep.
So get me on the hook, babe, and reel me in. Tell me about Blood Hook.
This movie, I saw it, one of my friends recommended it to me, and I watched it. Initially, I was like, Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? Because it's quite long, like for a slasher of its type.
By the way, this movie's 92 minutes long.
It feels very much longer.
Okay.
So the opening is so I can't explain it. You see, the opening happens, and I was kind of like, well, why do I care about that? And then by the end of the movie, I still didn't care about it,
Wow.
but I was still sold on the movie. It has some of the best kind of shitty looking prosthetics, like, you know, like where it looks like a guy's made out of cake and
wow.
they put like a hook through him. There's
That's a Saw movie right there.
Yeah.
Is it cake, but it's like a real guy? It's a guy who's comatose, or a very realistic looking cake of a guy who looks like he's comatose?
There's a weird through line in it where like there's a tone that makes this one guy go insane, and it happens, and there's no real reason why the tone is happening or when it's in the air. The gigantic hook is really funny. There's an amazing scene where there's a guy who's like pissed off at his family. He's just a real shithead. He's at dinner. The lady, his wife, keeps talking about how she wants to see a loon. She's like, yeah, I know we're here for fishing, but I really love this type of bird. She disappears, and the guy's like, well, I don't know. I didn't really like your mum anyway. He goes out fishing at night, gets drunk, and there's a point. It's some of the coolest acting I've ever seen. He's alone out there, and he just goes, what the hell am I doing out here? And just screams to himself. And I was like doubled over laughing with how funny it was, because like it's not even acting at that point. I think they just got a guy drunk and hid some cameras. This movie is like, it's paced so weirdly. It's got the really strange dialogue that you get when you put like actual just post-teens in together and get them to act as like their first acting job. There's the one who's kind of meant to be like the almost Russell Brand-ish, like horny level of character, who's like, oh, I could turn this fishhook into an earring. And then he's like wearing a fishhook earring.
There's a cool guy in this movie?
Man, there is a point where like somebody gets their dick and balls hooked, and that's what they're dragged around with until they drown and die, which was a real delight to watch. It's just, its rating got changed, I think, to X after it came out because of how gory it gets.
No way.
But it's like, it's a delight to watch. Like the gore didn't at any point put me off. I was just like, how'd you guys do this? That's really creative.
This feels like a unique example of like that kind of like, it's rampant through horror of regional filmmaking, where it's like this only exists in this one small place, and maybe it kind of starts petering out. It starts coming outside, like maybe people from outside of that world will discover it.
Yeah.
But in horror, there's all these filmmakers like around America or wherever, Canada. They make films for their small community with no money, that are like with the people that are around them. And I think that's something that's so interesting, because now we're at this point where these people are being celebrated like in interesting mainstream ways, or mainstream in film discourse worlds, where people are like searching through these kind of like, like there's all these like regional filmmakers, like they get celebrated now. Like there's Andy Milligan, who made films like called The Ghastly Ones, and they're just like he's from Staten Island, and it's just like, it's now cause for celebration. Like there's all these unique voices, and I think that's the cool thing about horror cinema and people that love horror cinema, is they are the most comfortable exploring.
Yes.
Like they know, I think because you go, well, I know I'm going to get something from this, whether it be scared, or there's going to be some kind of excitement. I'm going to see some kind of blood. I'm going to see something. I'm going to see some gore. That
like,
horror fans are willing to explore and to like feast upon different things.
I think it's really cool when you can tell the exact type of hyperfixation the autistic person who made the movie has, because this guy just loves this one type of fish. Obviously, he clearly knows so much about it, and they constantly go back to the fishing competition. It's like, yeah, you could have just had a guy in a fishing community that was killing people, but you keep coming back to the fishing competition. Wow. He clearly knows so much about it, and it plays so many different parts, none of which were needed for the movie, and it's still so fun because he clearly cares so much about it.
I think this is going to be a main factor in our compilation of the boring bits in horror movies. It's going to be the fishing competition from Bloodhook and the stakes that are applied to it. Oh, this sounds so up my alley. Like,
amazing.
Is it a summer horror film?
Yeah,
There's
it's
something
like
about that I love too.
It's kind of beachy.
Right.
It's like, you know, they're kids on what may as well be like spring break or whatever, but it has like a like a medium rent Stephen Kingishness about it, kind
Medium
of.
rent.
Yeah.
We love it. It's not low rent. It's not highbrow.
No.
Yeah, we've got medium rent Stephen King.
Yeah, because that's like he has the same thing where he's like every single thing I ever write is set in Maine, and that's just how it is, baby. And it's like, all right,
And there's going to be a writer with glasses in it, okay?
Yeah.
And he's going to be the one on the point of view for this whole story.
Yeah, and he's divorced, obviously.
Yes, of course he's done cocaine.
Yep. And there's gonna be some really bad stuff that happens to a ton of kids.
A kid is going to get mucked up for life if he survives this.
That's the scariest thing I can even imagine.
Yeah, a clown's going to be rude to a kid.
Staff pick.
All right, we're going to get into the part of the show where it's part of my duties here as the lone clerk wandering around these haunted halls, whispering as the movies whisper back. Yes, I've lost my mind in here. I've lost my mind as I've been trapped in this tower. But I'm going to recommend you a film.
Okay.
And this is a tough task because you have seen a lot of horror films. After all, famously, when you were 10 or 11 years old, you watched every film in the horror film section. So that is your story, and I'm going to try and recommend something that's maybe not in your area. And I often love to give Australian films. I think we make great horror films in Australia.
Yep.
We're in the midst of this great new wave of Australian horror, from stuff like Talk to Me all the way back to the Babadook and previously.
Was in year 5 with Michael and Danny Philippou.
Yeah.
They don't remember me at all.
Well, yet. Until
yet.
you kill them. Yeah.
Hey, wait till I fucking kill you. Talk to me. Why on you?
So I'm going to recommend you an Australian film.
Yep.
And this is like this is kind of just post-Ozploitation, like early 90s, 1993. A real gooey, goopy film.
Ooh.
Very gooey, goopy. Maybe the goopiest film ever made in Australia.
Okay.
And I want to recommend this one to you because I think it encapsulates something that you love about horror, which is that sense of exploration and that sense of taste in going like, I will accept everything. Like, I will
Yes.
accept everything from horror. This has got, like, it's not quite an anthology film, but
Okay.
it begins as 4 short stories that get put together and they kind of intersect with each other a little bit. But this is a film called Body Melt.
Horror.
Oh.
One of the gooeyest titles a film has ever
Gross.
received in Australia. It's from the iconoclast Philip Brophy. I think it's his lone feature film, but he is like a true punk artist. Like, he was in an art punk group. He did the score for this film, which is like, it's got a fantastic score. But he's also a cultural critic and stuff. He's written like great books about dare I say, the shit state of Australian cinema is the way that he kind of captures things. I think Australian film is great. Philip Brophy and I often disagree, but he's a
Red Dog.
freaking cool guy. Like, what he does with Body Melt is it's like a true satire on like Australia, and it's like weird aesthetic. It's all about suburban Australia, and he takes this interesting look at how it's done and like kind of brings up this cold, almost commercial film quality, like commercial films. And he's got this great cast of actors, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about it.
Okay.
The residents of Peaceful Pebbles Court, Holmesville, are being used unknowingly as test experiments for a new body drug that causes rapid body decomposition, aka melting skin, etc., and painful death. And the way that he kind of makes his commentary about it
I
and
can
like
see why they
commentary about
test it.
Australia
Yeah, we need this.
is that he casts like all these like well-loved like primetime TV actors in the roles. So Lisa McCune is in this movie. Andrew Daddo is in this movie. Jared Kennedy is in this movie. William McInnes is in this movie. But playing the big bad, Dr. Carrera, who's like the experimenter on everybody, is Ian Smith. Do you know Ian Smith?
Give me a roll.
Oh, he's pretty famous for playing Harold in Neighbours. No! Yes. Ian Smith.
Oh my god!
But it's like this is such a cool horror film, like plays with great body horror, but plays like in this really interesting satirical space on different kind of like ideas of I guess kind of like suburban life and the
Yeah.
comforts of suburban life
Yeah.
and modern Australia. It's just such a ripper. The new restorations of the last few years just look fantastic. It's a very good looking, goopy, grotty, disgusting movie.
Love
A
that.
lot of fun, great humor, and it's got bodybuilders in it as well. There's characters that are bodybuilders and they walk very stiffly, very excitingly, and I know that you like those big swole boys. So I think there'll be something in there for you.
They got little frog-shaped bums.
They got those. There's a lot of frog-shaped fellas in this, but I think Body Melt is right up your alley because
That's
it just
so good.
captures a very interesting array of tones, great sense of humor to it, but it's got this. It's a unique film. It's a very, very unique
I
film.
can't wait to watch it. I'm gonna find it as soon as I can. I have one question. Are there any points where somebody does what I like to call Screen Australia voice?
I would say that it was funded by the previous version of Screen Australia, the Australian Film Fund.
Okay.
And it's also something that it feels crazy that they were able to get funding for this.
Awesome.
But, I mean, Lisa McCune's in it, mate.
Yeah.
So,
but,
you know?
But what I mean by Screen Australia voice is like, can you just look at me really vacantly like you're like 82 years old and you're a bit scared of something? Oh, don't worry, Mum. It's all right. That's Screen Australia voice.
You're going to love it because it's the exact parody of that kind
Yes!
of shit. Yes.
I'm so excited.
So that is Philip Brophy's Body Melt, Demi Lardner staff pick recommendation on the spookiest episode of the year.
I love that. I can't believe you found something that I've never even heard of.
Yeah, you're gonna dig this one. You're
That's
really,
so sick.
I'm so certain of it. I hosted a screening of it last year with Philip Brophy, our friends of ours, the Brisbane only repulsive liquid film festival, BOLF. And of course, as one of the great gore films in Australia, they brought Philip Brophy out. We had a great Q&A, and we paired it with Reanimator. And this and Reanimator just work so nicely together as a pair as well.
Reanimator is so sick.
Yeah, like we'll chuck that in the
We're
poll
gonna
too.
talk about it.
It's in the poll too. It's in the poll.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna send you back out. We've got those beautiful movies. You got Saw.
Yep.
You have got
Say
Seance. And you've also got Bloodhook. And Bloodhook is God, I can't wait to watch Bloodhook.
I'm really excited to hear what you think about it because it's
Oh my God.
it's very as soon as I saw it I was like this is one of my favorite movies ever. So I'm excited for you to see that and I'm so excited to watch Body Melt.
Yeah, I can't wait to melt you up, dude.
Let's
Can't
melt
wait
each
to melt
other.
ya. Can't
Why
wait
do
to
we
melt ya.
each other?
People aren't melting enough these days.
Man, nothing's gonna happen. Let's just melt each other.
Well, be careful out there because it's turned to darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Once you leave this store, there's no telling that what could happen to you.
Anything could happen to me. There's no knowing what evil lies in the bushes.
Evil lurks on the outside of this store now. There will be werewolves, Draculas, witches,
Mm-hmm. There is a dark
swamp
shadow
creatures.
in all of us, and we
There
know
will
this.
also be, I guess, guys that have intricate traps.
There's John Kramer's.
The last video store.
Thank you for checking out The Last Video Store with me, your host, Alexei Toliopoulos. Please subscribe, follow, share the podcast amongst your friends as well. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, Last Video Store Batuta. So check us out and share us in all of those places. And if you want your own bespoke customized recommendation from me, you can submit an online order at any of those places in a comment, in a 5-star review with your weeklies and your new release pick. And I will come to you like I did at the top of this episode and give you a recommendation based on your taste. So thank you very much. Love you. Love movies.